Welcome back to Live with Jane and Jody. Today is February 13th. Mardi Gras, here we go. It's the fun time of year. Today it's actually going to be live with Jane and our special guest, Dr. Shawna Eischens. So just to go through some basic formalities, I am recording this session. I do invite you to turn on your cameras and use the chat feature. This conversation is for you guys, our candidates, anybody looking into this program. We bring our guests on here for you guys to meet them and ask questions. So feel free to turn on those cameras and engage. Just like I said, just keep in mind, I am recording this session and we'll post it later for others to see. For those of you that don't know, I am Jane Voorhees. I'm one of our admissions representatives here. So my job is to help you guys prepare for a successful interview. As you start working on that application, sending in those transcripts, I'm going to guide you through that process and get you ready for a successful interview and hopefully ultimately joining this community. I mentioned Jody Durham. She's not going to be here today, but usually when she's here, she likes to share with everybody a core value of Sonoran University. These are our institutional values. We all find them very helpful in guiding us as we reach a common goal. Today, Jody actually still chose the core value for us. So I'm going to read that for everybody. So what we have today, we are resilient. By never giving up, finding solutions, we achieve excellence through tenacity and teamwork, through appreciative inquiry, identifying our best practices to overcome challenges, through wellness, promoting physical, mental, and emotional health, with mindfulness, finding calm in the face of adversity. We are resilient. So I love that core value. I'm glad Jody put that together for us today. All right. So today we have the privilege of talking with one of our alumni, Dr. Shawna Eischens. And hopefully I keep saying that correctly. It's a
You
funky little
do.
spelling.
You do. It's rare.
That's good. Well, I happen to remember Dr. Eischens when she was also a candidate herself, much like you guys, and just barely looking into this and joining the community. So I remember her well when she was a student. So today we're going to dive a little bit deeper into her experiences. So let me tell you a little bit about her. She is originally from Apple Valley and the various suburbs of Minnesota. Her undergraduate major is therapeutic recreation from UW. Is that correct? And she's also was in lacrosse. Is that correct?
UW lacrosse. Yep.
Lacrosse. Very cool. Graduated from Sonoran University in December of 2012. So, of course, at that time, we were Southwest College of Naturopathic Medicine. Her hobbies consist of kayaking, hiking, and cold plunging. Woof. What a shock. She's also on faculty here as well. So you'll probably see her in one of your future quarters as a professor. Welcome, Dr. Eischens. It's really great to see you today.
Thank you. You as well.
Thank you for joining us. Anything additional you'd like to share about yourself?
I'm ridiculously passionate about this medicine and our body, and it often gets me choked up. Like I taught just one quarter, my first quarter last quarter, and I probably got choked up 6 times throughout the quarter talking about this medicine. There it goes, how it's changed my life. Like that is my biggest thing, why I love what I do, because it's not about the money, it's not about the fame, it's not about any of that. It's about helping change lives, and the medicine's amazing and our body's amazing. So see, already.
Thank you so much. Your vulnerability, your genuineness, like that's what this community is love and all of us wanting to make a difference. So thank you for that. Yes, thank you for joining us. All right. Well, let's dive in. And I just want to remind everybody that's on the call with us today, this is for you guys. And we do understand the awkwardness of Zoom. So if you've got questions and you want to throw them out there, you're welcome to unmute yourself and chat. Use the chat feature as well. I promise I'll open it up and keep an eye on that. But as you think of questions, as you listen to Dr. Eichen share with us, please put your questions out there so that she's engaged with you guys. And we're actually answering your questions. We've got a list, so we'll get it started. Let's just begin with the basics. How did you become interested in naturopathic medicine?
Well, being from Minnesota, we're a little farther behind. So I was in my 20s before I even heard of the term. And I know it sounds really cliche and cheesy, but it found me. And I mean that literally, because growing up, it was just kind of a natural tendency. I loved figuring out how the body works. If I ever were sick or had pain, I didn't want to take something. I wanted to know why. So it was naturally in there, but I'd never heard of the term. And then my mom was diagnosed with cancer and we did some things nutritionally, but we still didn't know about NDs. And I was on a walk one day with my friend, who ironically is now a chiropractor. And everyone wanted me to be a chiropractor. And he said something about, I want to be a naturopathic physician. And I said, what is that? And he said it, and this light bulb just went off. And that was it. So he's a chiropractor now. I'm an ND, and it all worked out.
Interesting. And usually you think, all right, come on over here and join us, learn these additional tools and modalities. But I'm sure he's having a very successful career as well. But
Yes.
what a great inspiration for somebody to just say, hey, by the way, and just that word to show up in your life. So I'm
Mhm.
sure a lot of folks on this call have that same experience. I know a lot of times the candidates I talk to are just, I just discovered this. My friend just told me about this. I
Yeah.
never knew this was an actual career. So it's very common background for sure. Now, originally, did you apply to all of the schools? Coming from Minnesota, you know, there's two schools in Canada, obviously Portland, Seattle area. Did you apply to all of the schools?
So I did not. I applied to Bastyr, and this is ridiculous that I don't remember this. I don't remember if I applied to National or not. I do not remember. But I remember doing a rotation with a doc my last quarter. And so, or no, I had been to Bridgeport for something else and realized, nope, this is not for me. And Bastyr, I toured. And once again, it was just, I won't go into the whys, but it just wasn't for me. And then I toured at the time SCNM, now Sonoran, and it was like, yes, this is it. And keep in mind, being from Minnesota, when I came out, it was March, it was over 100, which was crazy. But spring training and fun and people playing outside, and just my heart was like, because I'm very social and I need that. And so it was the feeling, and it was definitely the best choice.
Mhm. Coming from Minnesota, and especially in March. And that's kind of unusual. We're not usually into the hundreds yet, quite in March.
Yeah,
So
that was weird.
also kind of a shock, but I'm sure also a relief from the cold. I unfortunately had to spend a full January in Minnesota one year for the Super Bowl, and
Oh, I'm
it
sorry.
snowed like the day before Super Bowl. It was brutal. So anyhow,
Yes.
I appreciate the sunshine. I love it here. I can see why you instantly kind of got hooked.
Yes. So I did apply to a few, interviewed, but my heart knew.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So yeah, why did you pick Sonoran? But it sounds like a couple of reasons really drove you to the
Mhm.
valley here. Love it. Okay, so fast forward through 4 years. Did you do a residency?
No, I'm to the students. I can't sugarcoat anything. I have no filter, so I'm going to be so transparent with this. I didn't do a formal residency, but I call it my residency with what I did do, because I was basically, it was not the best experience where I went. And I was basically her resident to do anything she didn't want to do. And so, but it was not a formal residency. I did not apply to do the school residencies. Um, but it felt like a residency. And I made $20 an hour at the time. That's something, huh? Looking back, I'm like, how that's crazy. But yes, it was quite the experience that lasted a year.
Well, that's pretty lucky though that you fell into an opportunity where, hey, you're kind of forced to get to the grind and to see more patients and things, and still under somebody's wing in a way. Sounds like,
Mhm.
yeah. Would you recommend residency to our current graduates or students now looking into it?
I think it's so personal. Everyone is so different. And I think really knowing yourself is the most important thing. So if you say, I'm all about being my own boss and I love entrepreneurship, or I want to do things my way, then go for it. If a lot of people can graduate and feel, oh, I need, more confidence, more experience, I want to work with somebody or have a residency. So I think it's really personal. There's no right or wrong.
Yeah, I like that. That's totally, I love that. Like, yeah, self-awareness. Where do you need to go next? Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. So, did you open your own private practice after you finished that pseudo residency?
So students never say never, because everything I've said never to has happened. So be careful. I was never going to have my own practice. It was not an interest. I had no business background. I had no business sense. I had major poverty mentality and money issues. no desire. And then I did that pseudo 1 year residency and then, or 1 year pseudo residency. And then for 9 years, I worked with my doctor, who was my mentor, father figure, friend, colleague, amazing opportunity. And I manifested that and it was beautiful. 9 years and not throwing him under the bus, but I would say this to his face that he's now in his 70s and he's not really looking to change. He's pretty content. And I am in my 40s and I'm newer, first decade I call newish. And I was like, oh, let's improve here and grow here and be more efficient here. And it was just met with resistance. So I had to make a choice, either do something else or accept this because things aren't changing. And so I did a lot of work on my money mindset, my business knowledge. I hired a coach, another coach. I've had various coaches over the years, but I really buckled down and made it happen. So March of 22, so almost 2 years now, I've had my own practice and it's going great. And it was a good choice.
Wow. And
Yeah.
10 years after you've graduated. So it's not like it has to
Yes.
be an immediate thing.
No.
It, oh my goodness, neat. I got
Yep.
the goosebumps. Woo. That's really
Never say
great.
never.
And I love what you kind of pointed out there is you were fortunate to have fostered these relationships. You had that mentor that, again, not that he took you under his wing, but you had that partnership
Oh,
to
he
kind of learn
did
and
for
grow it.
sure.
Still, yeah. Now, I kind of want to back up a moment and how did you find mentors? Long ago. Like, let's pause that question.
Yeah, so I think it's so important because we can get in the rut as students of just this test, what's my grade? Just the grind, right? Which is not always so fun. And I think it's so important to get outside of the little four walls and the Scantron, well, not Scantrons anymore, but the tests and really get to know what real life practices. And so I made an attempt, a very conscious effort to connect with docs who were in the Valley, mentors who had similar philosophies. Naturopathic Medicine Institute was a big one of mine. So anybody who would talk, I would go up and talk to them after and just really make those connections. And then I was fortunate enough to do rotations that counted and just on my own during school. And then just kept in contact. And I remember telling this doctor, like, I will work with you someday. We're going to work together. And actually, Dr. Stage, who's at this school, was there. And she wanted to go back full time to the school and do all the things at Sonoran. And I came to him one day and said, what does that look like? And he said, she just gave her notice, come on board. And so things work out, but definitely make those connections even when you're bogged down with all of the tests and assignments and the grind.
And you said that was kind of tied in partly in your curriculum, partly volunteer. You were spending hours there. We actually have a question in the chat that says, were you able to work during the program? So I'm wondering if the hours that you put into those clinics, was that work, or maybe this is a totally separate
No, that
question.
would have been great. I was very fortunate. Emerson Ecologics is one of the wholesale distributors, like Natural Partners. I was able to be their rep. And I believe, I don't remember exactly, but it was at least 2 years, if not three. So it was wonderful because I think it was 400 a month, but it was easy, easy, easy. And I didn't have to leave the house. It was either school or home answering questions. And I learned more about the products and the business. And so that was a great opportunity. So if you get a chance to do, what are they called now, Jane? The
Student vendor program.
Okay, student vendors, yes. So that's a great option. I did have some classmates who, one was a PT before she came to school, and she would work at the hospital, PRN. Another one was a massage therapist. She would work the weekends, a lot of weekends, almost every weekend at a resort. Another was a nurse, and she worked. And some didn't work. It really varies. You just need to figure out what's best for you.
And you did so you on top of didactic, on top of some clinical rotations, on top of volunteer hours, you were also a student vendor
Mm-hmm.
rep.
Yep.
Pretty active schedule, pretty busy. Keep those questions coming, you guys. All right. I'm just kind of keeping the chatter alive here. So you opened your practice 10 years later. And obviously like the preparation you shared with us pretty extensively on um, like the mentorship, the things, learning a lot of the business practice too by being with those other companies. when you first began practicing, did you feel the school prepared you enough for this? Like when you go back to that pseudo residency, did you feel like you were prepared and ready for that? Did the school prepare you well for that initial first year?
Honestly, I don't know if any school can ever fully prepare you for quote unquote real life. And, I could say that about undergrad too. I just, it's not practical. We get the real life experience out there. Was I confident with the medical piece and not killing a patient or harming a patient? Absolutely. Business sense, no, but I also wasn't looking for that. I wasn't planning to open my own practice. So I wasn't a sponge for all of that, which I regret now. But yes and no, but you really have to figure out how to make it your own because there's so many hours. There's only so many hours. And that is mostly going to be clinical. And so no matter how smart you are, it's figuring out how can I apply this in real life. And what I really drill in or try to drill in for the class that I teach is I don't care if you don't know the minutia and the facts about what year was this done and who did this. It's more so, can you think like a true naturopathic physician? So can you think like a business owner? Can you think like a practitioner? That's the important part. It's not if you know how many milligrams of vitamin C or exactly the right homeopathic remedy, like you can still be a good physician. You're never going to know it all. And even if you went to school for 3 more years, it wouldn't matter. You're never going to learn it all. So to the best of the ability, yes. How's that?
I love it. And I mean, I love the honesty. You're absolutely right. We're learning something new every day and constantly. And again, it's those relationships that you build, it kind of helps prepare you for each and every step.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. So now you have your practice for about 2 years. What types of patients do you normally see? What uh, are you? Yeah, I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. So when people ask about a specialty, I kind of laugh and tease and say I specialize in getting people well. And I know that sounds so dumb. And I have never had an elevator speech. So don't do what I haven't done. Do it different. I do recommend having that. But literally, almost everyone who comes to me, they've seen so many other practitioners, sometimes other NDs, and they're hopeless, they're frustrated, they're lost, they're overwhelmed, and they don't know which way to go. And so I love that what I'm offering is different. I focus a lot on mental, emotional, subconscious shifts, which is huge, and also affects physical. So I focus heavily on that. And then I don't know if pride myself is the right word, but I'm very old school naturopathic physician. So if you talk about the foundations, that's where I'm going to focus. It's not about just pumping out a bunch of supplements or having them come back for tons of blood work and IVs. I'm really going to the foundations of health, the basics, and then letting the body show off.
It is
So
amazing.
any age, I mean, big focus, not because I'm seeking it, just because it's coming to me, but big focus on anxiety, depression, women in their 40s and 50s who are perimenopausal, menopausal. I would say 95% female.
Mhm, mhm,
And then the females bring in the kiddos or the husbands, usually.
mhm, mhm.
Mhm.
I'm glad to hear that you're very successful. And that, like, there's pediatrics all the way through to geriatrics. Start with one key member of the family and then expand from there.
Mhm.
That you get to see them all is always a pleasure. All right, we've got
Yes.
a question in our chat. What would you recommend to ease the transition process to ND school when moving from another state?
Oh, great question. Who, what state? Not that it really matters. I'm just curious.
Anybody?
Alabama.
Alabama. Okay. So this is going to be my answer for nearly everything is do the self-work and the self-care and getting to know yourself through and through now and in school. It will never not benefit you. And so what I mean by that is gaining that independence and, separating because I was very close with family and friends and I had 3 jobs. I was loving life. And then it's like, and I'm moving and know nobody. And now I'm going to medical school. That's crazy. And I'm not working much at all. It was an adjustment, but I think knowing who you are and making sure you have those foundations. So whether that is a church or fitness or making friends and creating that group in school, That is key so you don't feel so alone. I did not. I loved my school experience, but I'm very social and I had a great class and just made that happen. I was at every social event, every party, etc. But really knowing yourself and figuring out what do I need and how can I love on myself now, work on some of these issues to set myself up for success. And then also training your family and friends like, hey, I love you, but here's like one, I don't know what it's going to look like, but two, here's my prediction and here's some healthy boundaries. Like I probably am not going to be able to text all the time, or, maybe we talk once a week, or just setting that up so they aren't so alarmed as well. Those would be my best recommendations, but it's an adjustment, but it was really great. And people want to visit Arizona. People didn't want to visit Minnesota. And I don't know about Alabama, but they want to come and see you. So that was almost hard too. Like, oh no, wait, my break is this time. Can we do it then? But just figuring out those boundaries and making sure you're filling your cup and not sacrificing just school, 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 test, test, test.
Thank you.
Yes.
Andrea, I see your hand went up. Go for it.
Yeah, I have a quick question, kind of similar to Jalea. Is that how you say it? I hope I didn't butcher it.
Jaylee.
Jaylee. Okay. So when moving from a state, because I would also be in that same situation, would could you kind of talk about if you had like a roommate, or how would you suggest the living style goes?
Yeah, Jane would probably be able to answer the school piece because I'm sure you guys have resources for incoming classes and roommate potentials and all of that. So I'll let you take that. But for me, I was very blessed and it was a very unique situation, but a friend of a friend found out I was moving and they wanted to go to Costa Rica, her and her husband. They didn't have kids at the time. And so I house sat and paid very nominal rent in a house alone for the first, I want to say like 6 months. And then one of my classmates, who became one of my best friends, and we're still very close, she lives in Louisiana now, but she also had a similar experience and was able to stay with some friends. I think hers was free, no charge. And then we talked about it and I said, nope, I never want to live with a friend. I want to remain friends. Like I have no desire. And it was a struggle because I was so resistant and it turned out to be great. We lived together 3 years, no drama, no, it was great. But, yeah, it just depends. I know some people lived alone, some people moved with family, some people found roommates. But Jane, do you know of of course you do, but the resources through school?
Yeah. Yeah. So our campus, we're kind of small here. We don't have on campus housing, but we are right down the street from Arizona State University. So right here in Tempe is a nice rural community with plenty of apartment complex options, townhouses, condos, single family homes, all types of rental options. Of course, we have a contact here in Tempe who does help with apartment locating. So people that are moving here from all across the country are just trying to get an idea of, is this reasonable? Will this work with my budget? Will they take my financial aid letter that says I'm really going to get money to pay that rent? So there's a variety of things that we have to think about when we're setting up that lease initially. So we'll certainly offer you that particular contact information. One of the key things that we try to do for our incoming students, once you are an admitted student, we do create a private Facebook group and we're trying to help you guys connect and meet each other. And you quickly realize that you're not alone. Probably 80% of our students are moving here from another state. So there's definitely plenty of folks that are also kind of a little bit lost and looking for, what are the options? What's a good area? Who else is looking for a roommate? Does anybody have a room for rent? Things like that. So we offer a little bit. So we'll reach out. Definitely shoot us an email, Andrea, and we can send you that apartment locator and just a couple of notes on the apartments that are around us. Okay,
Yeah, thank you. I will do that. Thank you so much.
you bet. All right, Robert, I see your hand up. Go for it.
I'll unhide myself for this. Thank you so much for being here, first of all, and answering questions. It's really awesome and appreciated. So I'm 37 years old. I just finally figured out what I want to do with my life and what I want
Yay!
to grow up, and it doesn't really involve the business college anymore. So I guess my question for you is, I'm at a stage right now where I'm still working, trying to go back to part-time. I'm going to community college now because I have never taken a science class. So I'm doing prereqs right now at Pima Community College in Tucson. My ND, he's also a chiropractor as well, so NDDC. He is in his 80s and he never wants to retire. He just never wants to give it up. He will die before he retires. And I love that. I find that so inspirational. I'm at a point right now where I am so scared to bring this up to him because I haven't even done my prereqs yet. You know, I just got started a couple weeks ago, but I know that the clock is ticking. If you, and I know this is just like one situation, but what would you recommend in my shoes here?
As far as, can you elaborate on you
Oh,
haven't
so sorry.
approached him?
Yeah, like how should, because I know he would be a great mentor for me. Um, he's known that I've expressed interest in scientific fields just in our own appointments that I've had as a patient with him. But you know, I'm so early on in the process. Is it too early to ask him
Never,
mentorship?
never, never, ever. And the answer is always no if you don't ask.
Yeah,
So I wouldn't have found all of the blessings that I haven't even talked about, but any of those things
yeah,
happen because I put it out there, or I approached somebody, or I asked. So absolutely. And if he's passionate,
yeah.
we're willing to share.
Okay.
And so
Awesome.
I'm guessing he would not say no, and he'll set his own healthy boundary on what that looks like.
Yeah,
And that can also help form you too, finding that mentorship very early, even during the prereqs or before. And he'll have his own wisdom. So yes, absolutely reach out. And that is a priceless spot. And I was similar. It was my doctor who I ended up working with and became my mentor. He never wants to retire. He's in his 70s, so similar.
yeah.
But yes, please do reach out to him. That could be
And that's
priceless.
it's just so inspirational to see someone that's that, you know, he's that old, he's that far in his career. He just never wants to give it up. And that's one of the things that is just motivating me because
Yes.
I've been in sales. I'm losing my hair. I need to keep working with my ND to get that back. I need to go, I need to go to Sonoran to get it all back.
I
So
love it.
yeah, I love the field and I just totally want to be immersed in it.
Good
So
for you. That's exciting. And on that note, we talk about mentorship, but it doesn't have to be somebody that you are meeting with weekly. I don't remember if it was before I applied or before I went, but I called probably 8 different NDs in Minnesota and asked them. I think I had probably 5 questions. I wanted to be
yeah.
efficient for their time because they weren't charging me, but I just wanted to say, like, would you do it all over again? Best and worst parts, what would you do differently? Some of those things, and just make sure they're brutally honest with you.
Okay.
And find some who recently graduated, who have been doing it a long time. But he sounds like an absolute wealth of information that could be such an asset for you.
Definitely. Awesome. Well, thank you for the encouragement. I'll
Yes.
visit him this week and I'll say, hey,
Good.
I'd rather not be a patient this week. All right,
Or
thank you,
even,
Karen.
I don't know your relationship, but even maybe put it out to his front desk staff, or if you have his email, and just say, this is on my heart, but give you some time to think about it. But based on what you shared, I'm guessing he will be giddy that
Okay.
you
Yeah.
are. And I've had multiple patients who have pursued the path as well, or at least interest. They didn't necessarily
Yeah.
all go through, but it lights me up. It's like, oh my gosh, this is so exciting to pass that torch or baton forward. So yeah, I'm
Right.
sure he'll be thrilled.
Awesome. I'll go visit him this week.
Good.
Thank you for the encouragement. I appreciate your
Yes.
time.
Thank you.
Good stuff. Jennifer, I do see your hand, but I had a question that came into my chat first. So hold tight, my friend. I'm going to check this one.
Okay.
We have a question on the chat that says, I don't know if we missed it, but did you have medical related experience before applying to ND school?
Good question. Yes and no. I wouldn't consider it much. My mom worked in a clinic, phlebotomist, but we were surrounded by doctors and nurses and everything. And then my brother is and was a chiropractor. And then where I went to massage school was with acupuncturists and chiropractors. They were all my friends, and I got all of the tech or the treatments. And so that was my world. And then after that, I worked in a nursing home and with people with disabilities and like group homes. And so, is it medical? But that was the extent. And as far as my class, we kind of giggled because it's like, oh, you're a dance major and you're a PT and you're a nurse and you're a geologist. And I mean, it was so well-rounded and just so cool, the diverse backgrounds and diversity of everything for all of us. It was really neat. So please, if you do not have medical experience, do not be discouraged because it's not a deal breaker and it's not like you're going to be 10 steps behind.
At all. And it's very common career shift, second, third careers. We see that very commonly. Robert, you are not alone, my friend. All right, Jennifer, what you got? Go for it.
I'm gonna get into like the business side of things because that's one reason. Well, I've ran my own business before, but I want to start my own business for naturopathic medicine. And I know that you have your own. So I know that when you were in school, you said it was a lot of clinical. Do they offer, I don't know if when you were in school, if they updated the course curriculum, do they offer you a lot of information about how to start your own business?
I wish, and Jane, you're going to be better because I'm disconnected as far as curriculum changes, but we had something called, oh gosh, I don't remember the name. It was with an ND who's also a dentist and then his accountant and business guru. And so we took different classes on the weekend. That was very helpful. And then business classes were pretty limited. I would say that was the biggest piece that felt limiting. But then again, I think we bring about what we think about and we see more of what we're looking for. And that was not on my radar. It was like, oh, medicine. Yay, I want to be a good doc. I did not ever plan on any of the business stuff, which I'm regretting now. But so you will find that and seek it out. I know other people who they created a group year one and they worked on business things every single week and had different mentors. But Jane, you'll be better to speak about the actual curriculum with business.
Certainly. So built within the curriculum, it looks like starting at about Q8, you'll start to get into like practice management type based classes. So that does start in Q8, so almost near the end of your second year if you're on the 4-year track. If you're on a 5-year track, it would be near the end of your 1911, your 11th quarter. We also have the career development department. Debbie Taylor wants to connect with you, wants you to help continue finding mentors, developing what does that career look like for you? And if it is starting my own practice, all right, let's connect you with the right resources, whether it's financial planners, make sure you have things structured and aligned properly, how to understand a lease, how do you find the right insurance, not just your practice insurance, malpractice insurance, but you need insurance for the building. You need to know how to manage overhead and things like that. So we want to connect you and help find those resources for you. So the career development department is going to be a tremendous resource for that as well.
And do they have I know you said mentorships, but do they have like any student like groups, like clubs?
So the ones that I know of, like off the top of my head, what comes to mind are Natural Talkers is one that just teaches you how to speak, how to engage, how to make sure you're connecting. But there's one called Naturopreneurs, like entrepreneurs. So it's Naturopreneurs. So they are, as Dr. Eischens kind of led to, they're working together on how do we start our own business? How do we run a business? That's, I don't know how active it is, but we have a ton of different groups here. So engaging in different groups, you'll engage in different conversations and different resources and different friends and different study buddies and stuff. So I'm glad you're asking those questions. They are available. Good stuff.
And Jennifer,
Thank
you
you.
will find that because you're seeking it. So you'll find like-minded people. Who knows, maybe you'll create either a small group or a larger group. And so it's there. It just was unfortunately not as much on my radar as I wish it was. So props to you. And Robert had the sales background as well. And I'm not sure of the others, but
I've even got the insurance background, so I can help get everyone their malpractice insurance.
Nice.
One of these days, right?
And that's the beauty of the diversity is we all have different strengths. And then if you can pool together and be a family and not just your classmates, but the entire school, your schoolmates, it's really a community. And I think, well, no, I know that was my favorite part of school. Absolutely. I don't remember. I saw one question here. Let's
Yes.
see.
I was
How
gonna
much
go
time
back.
did you spend studying? And I'm like, I couldn't tell you because when you're 10, 12 years out, you just remember the big picture things. And what I remember is I made some of the greatest friendships and connections. I have the best job in the world. Um, Thankful every single day. And I don't remember the hours I spent studying. I don't remember, oh, I do remember my board exam, but how, they were stressful. But I also remember how amazing it was to find out you passed and every single final, just that like feeling of accomplishment. Like it's sorry. Graduation was like the best week of my entire life. Well, my honeymoon was in there too, but like just you work hard, you have this passion and just every step is just such a milestone. And then to celebrate it with the people that you love, like that I'm still close to. We're on a constant text thread. We can throw out questions back and forth or just update. And now there's forums on Facebook and everywhere with colleagues. Like that is the priceless part. So when I went to school, I was not, and I'll be honest, part of the reason I didn't choose best year was because research. No, I don't need a double-blind placebo-controlled study to know what's best for my patient, although I didn't know what was best because I hadn't gone to school. But still, it was not my heart. If research is somebody's heart, they can find that at any school. But for me, it was that community and that social. And so whatever your priority is, what makes you tick, that's what you need to find in whatever school you choose. And for me, my heart and everything lit up at SCNM Sonoran. Um, so I don't know, I probably totally went off that question and didn't even answer it, but
It was beautiful. Thank you so much for being so genuine with us. And actually, it kind of ties back a question that we missed earlier. Um, I want to go back to what makes Sonoran stand out. Back to that question what did you like about SCNM? You mentioned the weather, the social environment, and you fell in love with SCNM. Why Sonoran?
so once again, I'm probably not your typical medical student who is all about let's look at the minutia on the stats and this and that. That's not me. Like I have to feel it in my heart and my gut. And so I'm probably not going to answer the question how you want me to, but I'll be honest, I don't remember what the pass rates were for board exams. I didn't care because to me, that was my responsibility. Like I'm going to work my butt off and learn and pass boards. That's not just because of the school. And and I won't throw the certain school under the bus, but like it felt icky to me. And it was focused on research and it was dreary and I didn't get a good feel from the people that I met with. And it was just ick, ick, ick. And then I had the opposite experience when I came to Arizona. And so, and I remember Dr. Laskew, love that man. He's still doing the interviews, so you may meet him.
Yep.
But I remember me being me, I'm always brutally honest. I can't filter. It just isn't me. And so I told him in the interview, he asked why I chose it. And I told him what I just told you. And I'm sure he kind of rolled his eyes in his head, like, you're going to spend this much time and money and, you're not wrapped up in all the stats. And no, I wasn't. And it was a great choice and experience.
Oh my goodness. I love these conversations. All right, Miss Maria, I see your hand up.
Hey, yeah. So, yes, thank you both so much for this today and sharing everything that you're sharing. I have two questions. One is, I think, more pressing, but the first question I had is about the structure of the schooling in the 4 quarters, right? So it's year long. I that like at first was a little bit scary to me because I'm unfamiliar with that. I've always been on the traditional model. I don't know if that's how it was when you were in school. If that has been unchanged, but I also see how like that makes a lot of sense because it's not only efficient, but it's also, it kind of works with the seasons. Like it's a natural kind of approach to it. Did you find that like that, and especially too, like with your background in like stress management and resilience and like um, you know, moving through things and like working on like something as challenging as ND school. Do you think that that structure like was something that you like kind of fell into easily and that supported you well with the year long or the year round approach?
To me, it wasn't a factor because my undergrad was many years before, and I didn't have any rigid parameters on 12-week versus 11 versus 8. I didn't really care. I just knew, all right, here's our timeline, and then we get 2 weeks off. And here's our timeline, and then we get 2 weeks off. And so that didn't really affect me. I think it's all mindset, just wrapping your head around this is what it is. I'm going to buckle down and make the best of it and set my expectations accordingly. So I don't think it affected me. And I don't remember anybody complaining like, oh, it should be this, or I don't really remember that at all.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And the second question, with your practice now, for the patients that you're seeing, are those generally pretty like long-term relationships that you have with your patients? Or do you see people coming in just kind of like one-offs? What does that usually look like?
So for the first, let's see, maybe 7 or 8 years, I did a fee for service model, which, like you just said, could be described as one-offs. Ideally not, but could be. And then I realized my passion is too great, and I am not educating patients like I coulda, woulda, shoulda. And shame on me for that because they can't read my mind. And so I would not educate enough, and then they would get over their initial symptom and be like, woohoo, I'm good to go. And I'm going, we're just getting started. Wait a minute, like we're not even close to that mountaintop. And they were happy because their main symptom was gone. And so that was a big learning lesson. And it was heartbreaking to me because I care and I want to get them to that mountaintop. And I know there's other layers. And so I changed my model, and it was a very good choice. And I strongly recommend it. It's a program model. So what I do is I screen patients, which is opposite of what I did in the beginning. In the beginning, I was like, I want to help everybody. I can help everybody. And let me give you a discount and let me sell my soul to just help everybody. Bad choice. One, people don't care about the discount. If they value the service, whether it is a phone or a tennis shoe or a medical appointment, they will pay. If they don't, they won't, or they'll complain. So I learned that the hard way, very hard way. And then lots of tears. And then I changed my model, and it was scary. But what I do now is either they call and my wellness coordinator interviews them and gets more information and gets a feel like, yes, they are a great candidate, or they fill out an online questionnaire. And then we figure out, are they a good fit? Honestly, people weed themselves out by the time they get to my website or call. So they're almost always a decent to good fit. Then what we do is a half-hour phone consult if you want to come in, but usually it's on the phone. And I tell them what this is all about. I tell them I am not into green allopathy. I'm not just going to pump you full of a bunch of supplements. This is what we're going to work on. I'm going to find your ideal diet. So therefore, you need to be willing to look at diet. That's a key factor to health. I am going to go there with mental, emotional, spiritual health. Therefore, you need to be open to that. How that can affect your overall health. So I prep them what I'm all about before we jump into it, because it is a partnership, and they are so excited by the time they hang up to jump on board instead of, oh, this was not what I was looking for, or you want this kind of commitment. So I do a 4-month commitment based on hours. So I have different programs that are set amount of hours. And then based on what they share, I've practiced long enough to know, okay, you can do great with a 6-hour chunk. You need a 9-hour chunk. It's loosely. And then after that, we go to a fee for service. So I have the best patients right now because I am very selective and I screen, and they screen me out too. Like I always tell them, this phone call, it's like a first date. I don't say that, but like I want them to weed me out, and I will not be offended, because if we're working together, I want it to be a win-win. I don't want it to feel good to you.
Totally.
So does that answer
Yeah, definitely. That's super
Okay.
interesting. Can you speak just a bit more on the chunks that you said, like 6 hour chunk or a 9 hour chunk?
Right. So what's included in the program is the same. My philosophy doesn't change. Everybody gets the food intolerance method. Everybody gets the focus on what I focus on. If they need acupuncture, QNRT, NET, like whatever they need is included. They don't get nickeled and dimed. How it changes is how intense they need it. So somebody like yourself, let's say you look young. So young being, 20s, 30, anybody younger than me is young. Okay. So, if somebody's like, yeah, I've got acne and some PMS. Okay. You're going to do great within 6 hours. Now, if
Mhm.
they don't tell me that they also have a 10-year eating disorder and some PTSD, and like if that doesn't come out, that's an issue. But people are very upfront usually. And so I will tell them based on what you're sharing and based on the people I've helped with similar concerns, I think what's in your best interest is this amount of time over 4 months. And then I don't fire you after that. You're welcome to come. It's just you don't get a discount on supplements and it's a fee for service model then.
Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much. I love
Yes.
that. That's really, really cool to hear about.
And it was scary. I had to do a lot of work here to change that because it's like, if I feel like I need to discount a $200 service, how am I going to charge thousands? But
Mhm.
yet it's easier for me to charge thousands than to walk up front going, oh my gosh, well, for 5 minutes we talked about our vacation, so I probably shouldn't charge for that. And like, I was a mess with money stuff.
Yeah.
So working on your money mindset is key.
Yeah, yeah, that's super interesting. I love what you said about if they value it, it's and also that you're both screening each other. There's plenty of opportunity for them to see you and for them and for you to see them and to see, is this a good fit?
Right.
And let's invest from there. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really cool.
And
Thank
that's
you.
why I keep harping on know yourself, do the work, read, process, get treatment, therapy, whatever, because I think early on I was just like, oh, I need money and I want to help and this and that. And it was like, no, those people, not those, but like certain people, no, they weren't a good fit and I wasn't a good fit for them. So why would I want that? Like, that's not in their best interest or mine. So once you really figure out like what makes me tick, who do I want to help? And I fought it. I had multiple coaches go, you have to find a niche and narrow down. I'm like, no, I want to be a PCP. And naturally, it narrowed it down for me. But still, I'm resistant. Like, what's your specialty? I focus on getting people well. Don't put me in a box. Like, I
Yeah.
don't just do mental health. Whereas some people, they love, environmental medicine. I focus on regenerative medicine. Like, you get to do whatever you want. That's the beauty.
Wow. Wow. Yeah.
By listening to that, you've learned through your career what you needed to do differently for a billing and to retain that client, to develop that relationship. And we have a great question in the chat. What would you do? What, if anything, would you do different at any stage of your career?
So part of me, once again, it's probably going to sound cheesy, but I'm of the mindset that things happen and they help us learn. And so part of me says, I have no regrets. Everything worked out how it was meant to. The other part of me says, damn, if I could have prevented that nervous breakdown on my birthday in year 3 because of all the suppressed emotion that I didn't deal with and just partied away and numbed, like life would have been a lot easier and better. But you know what? I wouldn't have learned the techniques that I do with patients every day now. I wouldn't have met the husband that I met. Life would not be the same. So that's why I'm all about self-care, self-growth, self-development, because the more you know yourself, have healthy boundaries and confidence, the easier everything in life is going to be. So that's my talking out of both sides of my mouth answer. But I cannot harp on that enough, whether you are doing prereqs or planning to start school in a few months, like work on yourself. And including that is money mindset and poverty mentality if you have it, or any just financial wisdom, financial advisor. All of that. I buried my head in the sand because I didn't want to deal with it. And that was not wise. And then eventually I had to take my head out of the sand.
Work on yourself and include a little piece about managing those finances. I love it. you saw the note about how much time did you spend a week studying, and what advice do you have related to time management for this program?
So I'm going to tell you a story instead of an answer because this just stays with me. So I used to be much more judgmental and critical. And then I learned the hard way, like, nope, no judgment. So I came in and I thought, you had to do it this way. And my brain works differently than person B through Z. So I thought, you had to be in class, you had to put this amount of time into studying and blah, blah, blah. Well, there was a student who turned out to be our valedictorian, even though she missed chunks of time because she went through some stuff. Ridiculously smart. And I remember one day we were out on the picnic tables talking, and this was like in our first quarter. So I remember her saying, yeah, and then I went home and I took a nap and this and that. And like the judgment in my brain, like, because I'm not a napper. You took a nap and you missed class, like, oh my gosh, your career's over. Like thinking back, it's so ridiculous. Yeah, she got straight A's. Shame on, like, how can I know what's best for somebody? So I can't answer that for you because what's best for me is not best for you, and you'll figure it out as you go. But what I will say is do not sell your soul to getting an A, because one, you're going to burn out. It's not worth it. Two, not one patient has ever asked what my GPA was. And it was good, but it wasn't a 4.0. And three, it's more about how you think than those exact test questions. So focus on the big picture instead of just what's the right answer. The community, the self-development, making sure you're not neglecting family and friends, and those hobbies and passions to keep you grounded and sane.
Very good. I do hear a lot about time management, like that, having a structure or having a schedule. I forget who I was talking to earlier. I think she's a mom of 3. Like the students here amaze me. Oh my goodness.
Right.
Oh,
Well,
wow.
and speaking of that time management, I'm dodging the bullet because what I've learned over the years is what's my best way for time management is not yours. And so I don't want you to think that it has to be this way for you to be successful. So that's why I'm intentionally not telling you exactly what works for me. I am a list person, a goal-oriented person. I'm more rigid and structured, but you can be successful if you're the opposite of that. And I remember going, I mean, I went to class, I studied, I worked hard, but I remember at the time, I didn't have a significant other and no kids. And I remember watching these parents going, how do they do it? And they did somehow, but you know what? Their priority when they were in class, that was their first time studying. When I was in class, it was like, oh, I'm just going to be a sponge and take it in. But it wasn't, I knew I had time outside of class to study. It was not a stressor for me. To them, it was like, all right, I am so focused. This is my first round studying because I may only get in another glance. But they were not the ones always at the social gatherings. I was. They were focused more on, the kids' sporting events and the family events. And that's what worked for them. For me, I was single with no kids. I wanted to be social. I wanted to party and play and have fun. And so it's just how you figure out what works best for you. I'm more of an extrovert, at least then I was, and other people are more introverted. So whether you study in groups or on your own, don't get caught up in anybody else's race. Run your own race and keep those blinders on, because like I said, what works for you is not what works for someone else and vice versa. So don't compare.
Really good. Don't get caught up in someone else's race. I like that. All right, a couple more here. If you have a science background and have completed the prerequisites, would you have to retake courses if it has been longer than 7 years since you completed them? From an admission standpoint, I have an answer. As a professor, as someone that's gone through this program, what's your feedback on that question?
I think you should answer first. I think that's more important.
So absolutely. Yes. As you step into this program, you will learn the intensity of it. You're diving into our cadaver lab, anatomy at the 500 level. We want you to be ready to take in this information and pass exams. Our ultimate goal is that you're passing those board exams. If you haven't been in a regular academic setting where you're studying, you're taking an exam, you're using this material on a regular basis, you absolutely will need a refresher course before you start here. What do you think, Dr. Eischens?
I think it doesn't matter what I think if that's the school standards, and I think it's a good standard.
Very good. Okay.
Yeah.
Our goal is that you guys are successful. It is tough. We will let you know that, and we want you to be ready for it. So that is written in our catalog. You'll notice that if you have those older sciences, we want you to have a refresher within 7 years. So we can help you identify some options. In fact, little side pitch, Sonoran University now offers foundation classes. So if you need an anatomy with a lab online, if you need a biochemistry refresher, we have a couple options right before you start that are offered twice a year. So hit us up, let us know if you need a refresher. We can now probably offer it right here.
And
right, a
don't
couple.
let that discourage you, because I did not have a strong science background. I also did some prereqs at the community college back home. And yes, I had the massage therapy, so cadaver lab and anatomy was easier for me. But even if you don't have that strong science background, it's the mindset. If you come in going, this is going to be so hard, and what if I fail? Like, that's a slippery slope. I would work on that right now. Come in and go, what is my why? If your why is to make a lot of money, not that you can't, but if that's your why, I would rethink some things. If your why is to help people, and because you are passionate about the medicine, the body, natural medicine, that is a beautiful why. And you probably have your own story or testimonial, or your family or friends have been affected by natural medicine or the opposite. So when you have that why, that is your fueling that fire. So find your why and then just keep your eye on that finish line. I never once got in my head about, well, they have that and I don't have this, and what if I don't pass boards? No, like, I'm going to work my butt off, and this is happening. Like, that's it. And so once you fully commit, jump in with both feet first and fully commit and enjoy that ride. And it's not easy, but like, I had a great time. I had a social life. I had fun. But I also knew this is medical school. I'm not expecting it to be a cakewalk.
You've touched on this a few times, and this is a great question that we can hopefully wrap up with. Keep in mind, we've got about 2 minutes to go here, folks. Are there any general resources that helped you overcome that poverty mindset? Any resources you could share with us today?
Yes. So two of my favorite techniques that I now do in office, one is called quantum neural reset therapy, QNRT. The other one is neuro-emotional technique, NET. They both shift the subconscious. Meditation does the same, hypnotherapy. Those just weren't my favorite. So these were the two that I found and do, but anything that shifts the subconscious, find those techniques and do them. The other thing are books. Happy Pocket Full of Money is one. The Soul of Money by Lynn Twist. That's a good starter one. The Soul of Money. That helps to just shift that money as like good or bad. It's just a bartering exchange. And then, gosh, I'm blanking on another book, but The Power of the Subconscious Mind. That's a great one, although not money focused. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. There's many out there, but I think if you can start that ball rolling now, and I want to give you a quick, can I give one? It might go over a minute, but I remember I was just struggling in like year 2 or 3, just struggling financially and to get new patients. And Scottsdale is pretty saturated, so there's a ton of NDs here. And so I was in Scottsdale and I was struggling. And I remember talking with a colleague and like, I am doing networking events. I am doing all this stuff. Why am I struggling? And he said, think about this. Gasoline. If you were looking at Jane's picture there, if you were out on this desolate road in the middle of nowhere and you ran out of gas and somebody said, all right, gasoline's $25 a gallon, you would pay it, no questions asked. if I had a full tank and I passed Costco and it was 1 cent a gallon, it wouldn't matter. I have a full tank. So really looking at that value, and that helped me shift some things. And then realizing it wasn't about the money. If I could convince patients and truly believe that I could offer them hope and help them, that's what they care about, much more than the number. And, you know, I'm not saying price gouge, and I don't do that. I don't recommend that. But it wasn't about giving discounts and short selling myself. It was just focusing on helping people. So those are a few options. Those help me most.
Really good. Everybody, just so you are aware, it is 1 p.m. We are super grateful for your time. Thank you all for joining us. Your amazing questions. Thank you, Dr. Eischens. I did see your hand up, Andrea. I didn't know if you had one more question. If Dr. Eischens has another minute, go ahead.
I just wanted to know the abbreviations you said. You said NET, and I missed the other one. I just wanted you to repeat
Yes.
it.
So NET is neuro emotional technique. And QNRT is quantum neuro reset therapy. And I have info about both on my site. Otherwise, you could find them online. My site is itsmytimetoheal.com. If you have other questions, you could reach out.
Thank you so much for your time today. Absolutely.
Yes.
Anybody that has additional questions, send them to Jody or myself. We'll certainly reach out to Dr. Eischens or find a way to get you connected directly. Thank you all for joining us. Your amazing questions, Dr. Eischens. Truly, thank you for your time, your feedback, your vulnerability, your generosity. I'm just so grateful to see you again. So thank
You
you.
too. All the best to you all. Follow
Good
your
luck.
gut and your passion.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
so much.
Thank you so much.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.